Very pleased to have with us from the group Disabled Americans for Firearm Rights, Scott Ennis. Scott, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Cam, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on the program today.
We really appreciate you having us on, Cam. Thank you.
You bet. All right, so what can you tell us about Disabled Americans for Firearm Rights? You're a relatively new organization?
Yes, actually, we decided around the summertime we decided to put something together, but with the recent gun legislation, we had to push it a little faster than we normally would have done.
Sure. And so, obviously, you know, I'm guessing your group represents and wants to work with and for Americans with physical disabilities who are not precluded from being safe and responsible gun owners. And this may be something that surprises a lot of Americans. But, you know, over the years, we worked a lot with the Disabled Shooting Sports Program. I have seen some incredible stories of Americans with, you know, pretty profound disabilities who can still use firearms for sport, for recreational shooting, and for self-defense.
No, Cam, you're definitely right. Like I said, the NRA has a lot of programs for the disabled shooter. But what got us really involved was because of the legislation that's trying to be passed to ban certain semi-automatic rifles, you know, like the AR-15. And it hit home for me really, really hard because that is probably one of the only firearms, as far as rifles go, that I can physically actually hold myself just to hold, and let alone shoot. So when we started hearing that they were going to ban that rifle, or try to, at least in our state, that we decided to become very voicious and very active on that.
And so what are you all doing to speak out against these proposed bans?
Well, we just want to make people aware that there's thousands and thousands of disabled shooters that only use that type of rifle or rifles like it because of the adaptability issues. I mean, if they were to take that away, they would leave a lot of people that wouldn't be able to exercise their right to shoot.
And so, you know, so Scott, tell me, because again, we've got a lot of folks saying that, you know, look, these rifles, they're quote unquote battlefield weapons of war. They have no place in our civilized society. So, Scott, if you don't mind elaborating a little bit, can you talk about your disability and why the AR is a rifle that you can actually use?
Sure, I'd be happy to. As I testified at on the state of Connecticut gun violence hearings a couple of weeks ago, I'll speak from my aspect of it. I have a disease called hemophilia, which is basically you bleed internally, and because of over the 40 years of my lifespan, bleeding into my joints, especially my elbows, I have very limited mobility in my arms, meaning that I can't really rotate my hand under a rifle to be able to hold it in a safe position. So using the AR-15 the platform, it allows you to add, obviously we all know, it allows you to add modifications and things for length of pole with a collapsible stock. It also allows you to put a vertical foregrip on the rifle, which allows me personally and others to be able to hold that rifle in a safe and comfortable position. Now, there's thousands. I'm not the only one. There are literally thousands of Americans, disabled Americans, that are responsible gun owners that are in the exact same position that I'm in. And when we found that out, that's exactly why we started to go full steam ahead with this.
So when you talk to legislators, Scott, I mean, what are they telling you right now?
Well, to be honest with you, there are some that you know most legislators didn't have any idea, and then when we brought this to them, there are some that are very sympathetic and now that are willing to help us with that. But there are also some in the state of Connecticut that, at least here, I'll speak for the state of Connecticut, at least that are very not very helpful in that regard, and actually have been quite hostile about it.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
In what sense, Scott?
Well, as we all know, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but during that public hearing, there was one of the representatives that are on the task force I was actually on Facebook and Twitter making some comments about some things. Well, one of the people that she was commenting to happens to be the manager for the Office of Disability and Advocacy for the state of Connecticut. And while I was testifying, she was making some nasty comments about my testimony and how it regards the disabled people of America.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, it's a little out there. I couldn't believe it, especially when I found out who it was making those comments. It really threw me for a loop.
Well, yeah, I suppose it would, Scott. But I mean, it seems to me like we know that on this issue there's a lot of ignorance, and by that I mean a sheer lack of knowledge.
Exactly.
And ignorance can be corrected. That's the great thing about it, because we can always educate ourselves, and we can always do what we can to educate others. But then you get into the sort of willful ignorance. Then that's, I don't want to hear information that contradicts my point of view. I don't want to hear about this because I don't have a good response. So I'm going to pretend like this information is either incorrect. I'm going to pretend like it doesn't matter. I'm going to just do what I can to disregard the information that otherwise might compel me to change my mind. Are you running? It sounds like you're running into that.
You
too.
are exactly right on that. Exactly. And at first, when I had found out who, I really wasn't upset about it until I found out exactly who it was and what organization that person represents. So that is when we just started to be a little more voicious.
Yeah. So, Scott, I mean, going forward here, obviously we're talking about gun control bills being introduced in Maryland, new legislation introduced in Colorado that does not deal with a semi-auto ban, but it does deal with a lot of other restrictions, including restrictions on being able to purchase these firearms. Are you concerned? I mean, we've seen legislation in New Jersey, for instance, that all prospective gun owners, if this legislation were to pass, would have to undergo a psychological evaluation, would have to have a home inspection. Are you concerned that at some point we're actually going to have government officials say, Scott, I'm sorry, but you're too disabled to actually exercise your rights?
Sure, that could be, a lot of these legislations could be used as a stepping stone for those purposes, of course. And we are getting ready for that to happen in certain states. And if it ever comes to that, then we would definitely voice our opinion on that matter.
All right. Well, listen, Scott, I'm glad you could be with us on the program this afternoon, sir. Please keep up what you're doing, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Cam, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having us on. I really do. Thank you.